Welcome to dinner. We're on Dueteronmy 32. Give ear, O heavens, and let me speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. Let my instruction fall as rain, my speech drop down as dew, as fine rain on the tender plants, and as showers on the grass. For I proclaim the name of Jehovah, ascribed greatness to our Elohim, the rock. His work is perfect. For all his ways are right ruling, and of truth without unrighteousness. Righteous and straight is he. A twisted and crooked generation has corrupted itself. Their blemish, they are not his children. Do you do this to Jehovah, O foolish and unwise people? Is he not your Father who brought you, who created you and established you? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your Father and let him show you. Your elders, and let them say to you, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundary of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. For the portion of Jehovah is his people, Yaakov his allotted inheritance. He found him in a wilderness, and in a wasted howling desert. He encompassed him. He made him understand. He watched over him as the apple of his eye, as an eagle stirs up its nest, flutters over its young, spreading out its wings, taking them up, bearing them on its wings. Yahovah alone led him, and there was no strange mighty one with him. He made him ride in the heights of the earth, and he ate the fruit of the field. And he made him to draw honey from the rock, and oil from the flinty rock, curds from the cattle and milk of the flock, with fat of the lambs and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the choicest wheat. And you drank wine, the blood of the grapes. But Yeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat, you grew thick, you are covered with fat. So he forsook Eloah, who made him, and scorned the rock of his deliverance. They moved him to jealousy with foreign matters. With abominations they provoked him. They slaughtered to demons, not Eloah, mighty ones they did not know. New ones who came lately, which your fathers did not fear. You neglected the rock who brought you forth, and forgot the El who fathered you. And Jehovah saw and despised because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, let me hide my face from them. Let me see what their end is, for they are a perverse generation, children in whom there is no trusting. They made me jealous by what is not El. They provoked me with their worthless matters. But I make them jealous by those who are no people. I provoked them with a foolish nation. For a fire was kindled in my wrath, and burns to the bottom of Sheol, and consumes the earth in its increase, and sets on fire the foundations of mountains. I gather evils upon them, I use up my arrows upon them, wasted by scarcity of food, and consumed by heat and bitter destruction. And the teeth of beast I send upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword bereaves from the outside, and fear from within. Both young man and maiden, nursing child with the man of gray hairs. I said I should blow them away. I should make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. If I did not fear the enemy's taunt, lest their adversaries misunderstand, lest they say, our hand is high, and Jehovah has not done all this. For they are a nation lost to counsel, and there is no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would consider their latter end. How would one chase 1,000, and two put 10,000 to flight, unless their rock had sold them, and Jehovah had given them up. For their rock is not like our rock, even our enemies are judges. Their vine is the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Amorah. Their grapes are grapes of Gal, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of serpents, and the fierce venom of cobras. It is not stored up with me, sealed up among my treasures. Vengeance is mine, and repayment, at the time their foot slips. For near is the day of their calamity, and the matters prepared are hastening to them. For Jehovah rightly rules his people, and has compassion on his servants. When he sees that their power is gone, and there is no one remaining, shut up or at large, all he shall say, where are their mighty ones, the rock in whom they sought refuge, who ate the fat of their slaughterings, and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them arise and help you. Let it be a hiding place for you. See now that I am he. There is no Elohim besides me. I put to death and I make alive. I have wounded and I heal. And from my hand no one delivers. For I lift my hand to the heavens and shall say, as I live forever, if I have sharpened my flashing sword, and my hand takes hold on judgment, I shall return vengeance to my enemies, and repay those who hate me. I make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword devours flesh, with the blood of the slain and the captives, from the long-haired enemies' chiefs. O nations, acclaim his people, for he avenges the blood of his servants, and returns vengeance to his adversaries, and shall pardon his land, his people. Then Moshe came with Hoshea, son of Nun, and spoke all the words of this song in the hearing of the people. And when Moshe ended speaking all these words to all Yisrael, he said to them, set your heart on all the words which I warn you today, so that you command your children to guard to do all the words of this Torah. For it is not a worthless word for you, because it is your life. And by this word you prolong your days on the soil which you pass over the Jordan to possess. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe that same day, saying, go up this mountain of the Abarim, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, which is opposite of Jericho, and look at the land of Canaan, which I give to the children of Israel as a possession, and die on the mountain which you ascend, and be gathered to your people, as Aharon your brother died on Mount Hor, and was gathered to his people. Because you trespassed against me in the midst of the children of Israel, at the waters of Meribah Kadesh in the wilderness of Sin, because you did not set me apart in the midst of the children of Israel. For you are to look at the land before you, but not enter there, into the land which I am giving to the children of Israel. And this is the blessing with which Moshe, the man of Elohim, blessed the children of Israel before his death, and he said, Yahovah came from Sinai and rose from Seir for them. He shone forth from Mount Paran and came with 10,000s of set-apart ones, at his right hand a law of fire for them. Indeed, he loves the peoples. All his set-apart ones are in your hand, and they are sat down at your feet, receiving your words. Moshe commanded us a Torah, an inheritance of the assembly of Yaakov, and he was sovereign in Yeshurun when the heads of the people were gathered, the tribes of Yisrael. Let Reuben live and not die, and let his men be numbered. And this of Yehuda, and he said, hear, Yehovah, the voice of Yehuda, and bring him to his people. His hands shall fight for him, and you be a help against his enemies. And of Levi he said, Your Tumim and your Urim belong to your lovingly committed one, whom you tried at Massa, and whom you contended at the waters of Meribah, who said of his father and mother, I have not seen them, and he did not acknowledge his brothers, or know his own children, for they have guarded your word and watched over your covenant. They teach your right ruling to Yaakov, and your Torah to Yisrael. They put increase before you, and a complete ascending offering on your slaughter place. O Jehovah, bless his strength, and accept the work of his hands. Smite the loins of those who rise against him, and of those who hate him, and they rise no more. Of Benjamin he said, Let the beloved of Jehovah dwell in safety by him, shielding him all the day as he dwells between his shoulders. And of Joseph he said, Blessed of Jehovah is his land, with the choicest from the heavens, with the dew and the deep lying beneath, with the choice fruits of the sun, with the choice yield of the months, with the finest of ancient mountains, with the choicest of everlasting hills, with the choicest of the earth and all that fills it, and the good pleasure of him who dwelt in the bush. Let it come on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. His splendor is like a firstborn bull, and his horns are like the horns of the wild ox. With them he pushes the peoples to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000 of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. And of Zebulun he said, Rejoice, O Zebulun, in your going out, and Issachar in your tents. They call peoples to the mountain. There they slaughter slaughterings of righteousness, for they draw from the riches of the sea and treasures hidden in the sand. And of Gad he said, Blessed is he who enlarges Gad. He dwells as a lion, and shall tear off the arm, also the crown. And he chose the best for himself, for there the portion of the inscriber was hidden. And he came with the heads of the people. The righteousness of Jehovah he did, and his right ruling with Yisrael. And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's cub that leaps from Bashan. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with pleasure and filled with blessing of Jehovah, possess the west and the south. And of Asher he said, Asher is most blessed of sons. Let him be accepted by his brothers and dip his foot in oil. Your sandals are iron and bronze, and your strength as your days. O Yeshurun, there is no one like El, riding the heavens to help you, and on the clouds is his excellency. The Elohim of old is a refuge, and beneath are everlasting arms. And he drives out the enemy from before you and says, Destroy. Thus Yisrael dwells in safety. The fountain of Yaakov alone in the land of grain and new wine. His heavens also drop down dew. Blessed are you, O Yisrael. Who is like you, a people saved by Jehovah, the shield of your help, and he who is the sword of your excellency, and your enemies are subdued for you, and you tread down their high places. And Moshe went up from the desert plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, which is opposite Jericho. And Jehovah showed him all the land of Gilead as far as Dan, and all Naphtali and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Yehudah as far as the western sea, and the Negev, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, as far as Zoar. And Jehovah said to him, This is the land of which I swore to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov, saying, To your seed I give it. I have let you look at it with your eyes, but you do not pass over there. And Moshe the servant of Jehovah died there in the land of Moab, according to the mouth of Jehovah. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor, and no one knows his burial place to this day. And Moshe was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not dim, nor his freshness gone. And the children of Israel wept for Moshe in the desert plains of Moab 30 days. And the days of weeping and mourning for Moshe were completed. And Yehoshua son of Nun was filled with the spirit of wisdom, for Moshe had laid his hands on him. And the children of Israel listened to him and did as Jehovah had commanded Moshe. And since then no prophet has arisen in Israel like Moshe, whom Jehovah knew face to face. For all the signs and wonders which Jehovah sent him to do in the land of Mizraim, before Pharaoh and before all his servants and in all his land, and for all that strong hand and all the great fearsome deeds which Moshe did before the eyes of all Israel. And you have just completed the book of Deuteronomy.